Our objective for social studies today is I can use different types of maps for a variety of purposes. So the first thing we're going to talk about is different kinds of maps. And what different kinds of maps do you know? So last week, you probably explored some different types of maps online. Can you remember any of them that you explored? Did anybody have a chance to explore Google Earth? Or maybe some maps of different towns? So we're going to start by looking at 4 different kinds of maps. There's paper maps, maps in a book, maps on a screen, and maps on a sign. So let's start by looking at maps on paper. These are things such as road maps, park maps, or city maps. In the picture, you can see the boy holding up a map. Have you ever seen a map like that? So some of the pros or the good things about maps on paper is that they fold up easily. A lot of people might keep them in their car. Also, you don't have to have the internet. You can take it with you anywhere. Some of the cons or the bad things is they can easily rip. Also, they're not always up to date. So for example, if a new road is built, a paper map may not have that new road on it. The next type was a map in a book. So this would be an example of an atlas. Some of the good things about an atlas are they have many different types of maps. Also, because they're in a book, they stay protected. Some of the bad things, though, are you can't always bring it everywhere with you. It doesn't always make sense to bring around a big book. And same as the paper maps, they're not always up to date. So here's an example of an atlas that I have in my classroom. So this is called the Beginner's United States Atlas. And when we open it up, this one focuses on just the United States. So you'll notice it has a bunch of different things about different states. So for example, here's Maryland, and it gives some facts about Maryland, some different pictures, picture of the state. But in here, you can find every single state, and it's broken down by different regions. So for example, the Northeast. There's Arkansas, just south of us. South Carolina. So it goes through each of the states, and it gives different facts about each of the states. The next kind of map that we're going to talk about is maps on a screen. So they might be on a cell phone, on an iPad, or on a computer. I bet a lot of you have seen your parents use maps on their phone in order to get them different places when they're driving. So one of the good things or the pros about that is they're up to date. They are constantly adding the new roads that are being built or any changes. Also, a lot of times it's really easy to carry. Many people keep their cell phones just in their pocket or in their bag. Some of the cons or bad things, though, is you have to have the internet or you have to be able to have your data in order to use it. Another bad thing is they're really expensive. So here I have an example of Google Earth if you didn't have a chance to already explore this. So for example, I could search for St. Charles. Now it's going to zoom us into St. Charles. So here it is. And you can zoom closer in or farther out. You can even drag the person in to see what it would actually look like. So that would be an example of a digital map. So there's also different maps that you can find on a sign. So this would be, for example, if you were at a shopping mall or a theme park or like the zoo. Sometimes you walk around to find the map to see where you are in the park. So some of the good things about this is that you don't have to carry it. You can just walk up to it and then walk back away to wherever you want to go. Also, they're usually really big and easy to read. Some of the not so good things about it is you can't bring it everywhere. That sign is stuck where it's at, so you kind of have to remember where you're going. Also, sometimes those maps are hard to find. I don't know if you've ever been anywhere like the zoo or Six Flags, but sometimes You don't know where to go, but you also can't find a map to figure out where to go. So that could be one of the not so good things about it. So here's another example of a map. Do you know what this kind is called? It's called a globe. So think about what type of things you would use that for. What would you use a globe for? Maybe you would use it to find the different oceans. So for example, the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. You might use it to find different continents. On this globe right here, I can see South America, and I can also see North America. You might use it to look at the poles. There's the North Pole on the north end of the globe, and the South Pole down on the south end. Some globes even rotate around so that you can see them even better. You can also see the line that goes across the middle of the globe, and that's called the equator. Here's another type of map. What might you use this for? Maybe you're going to use it to find different states. For example, here's Missouri in the middle in red. But you might also use it to find out which states border each other. So for example, Missouri has a lot of border states. We have Iowa, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska. Here's another type of map. You'll notice it's a similar shape to the last one, so I think it's still the United States, but this one shows something different. You'll notice that there's some green, some yellow, and then also some darker brown. This map is called a topography map, and it shows the different elevations or the different heights of the land. So the green means the land is pretty low, it's close to ocean level. Yellow means it's getting a little bit higher, but then the brown means it's really higher. When I think of a landform that goes really high into the air, I think of mountains. So all of this really brown, darker colored means that's where mountains are. And if you look at the United States, you can see like Colorado and Wyoming, and those states have a lot of brown because they have a higher elevation, which means they go higher into the air. And usually that means mountains. So here's the Rocky Mountains. And you also see that there's a mountain chain over here too. Those are called the Appalachian Mountains. So when you see mountains that are like this, or when you see maps that are like this with these different colors, usually it's showing the topography or like where mountains are located. You'll also notice that there's some rivers on here and even some lakes. So you might use these maps for that type of thing too. What about this type of map? This looks similar to what we looked at on Google Earth. This is a map of St. Charles. So you might use this to find different cities. So for example, St. Charles, or O'Fallon, or Winfield, or Alton. You might use it to find different rivers. I can see the Mississippi River and the Missouri River. You might also use it to find highways. I see Highway 94, or Highway 270, Highway 70. So these city maps can be used for those different things.